It was 4:12 a.m. when Dr. Nathan Reyes walked into the dimly lit hallway of St. Grace Hospital, his coffee gone cold in his trembling hands. He was 28, freshly graduated from his residency, and this was only his third week as an attending surgeon. The air was stale, thick with antiseptic and silence, except for the beeping monitors and the occasional muffled sob from somewhere down the corridor. He had just completed an emergency appendectomy when the call came in. Comatose patient, rectal bleeding, prepped for immediate intervention. He glanced at the chart. Eleanor Whitmore, age 72, comatose for the last 4 months following a stroke. No family, no visitors, no medical proxy, just money, hundreds of millions of dollars tied up in trusts, companies, and foundations. A real estate mogul, they'd said, ruthless, alone, now reduced to a hollow form hooked up to machines, slowly breaking down. Nathan sighed. Hemorrhoids, technically minor, but in her state, the risk was high. Surgery wasn't required, but the pain, if she could feel it, must be excruciating. Most would have passed her by. No one would question it. She wouldn't wake. She hadn't so far. But Nathan, raised by a single mother who worked 14-hour shifts as a hospice nurse, had been taught early that every life matters, especially the silent ones. He looked at her face, pale, sunken, yet strangely regal, and whispered, "Let's get you some peace, Ms. Whitmore." The operating room was cold. Nathan and the team worked in silence. It was a textbook procedure, until it wasn't. Midway through the operation, as he carefully sutured a vessel, her body gave a sudden jolt. The monitors beeped in protest. Then her eyes opened. Just a sliver, but unmistakable. The anesthesiologist dropped his instruments. She's awake. Nathan froze. For a moment, time did too. Her eyes, gray and stormy, locked onto his. She didn't speak. A tear welled and rolled down the side of her face. Then they closed again, softly, like the end of a sentence finally written. "I think," whispered the anesthesiologist, "she just woke up to say thank you." In the days that followed, Eleanor's condition steadily improved. Neurologists were stunned. No one recovered from a 4-month coma, especially not at her age. But she did, slowly. Speech returned like a trickle, memory in cautious waves. The world outside her body, once distant and unreachable, was now painfully present. And Nathan, well, he became her daily visitor. At first, it was just professional courtesy. Then it became something else. She asked about his life. He told her about his student loans, his mother, the long nights, the patients no one cared to fight for. She didn't speak much of her past, but he could see the regret lingering behind her now brightening eyes. "I built skyscrapers," she said one morning, her voice hoarse. "Owned islands, bought judges. But I never once said thank you to the janitor who cleaned my office every night." Nathan didn't know how to respond, so he just squeezed her hand. Weeks passed, and Eleanor insisted on walking again. Therapy, stubbornness, and something unnameable drove her. It was as if her soul, dormant for decades, had found a new mission, one not written in contracts or stitched into business suits. Then, one quiet Tuesday afternoon, Eleanor called for Nathan. She was sitting up in bed, sunlight painting gold onto her silver hair. "Do you know what it feels like to die without dying?" she asked. He looked at her, unsure. "It's waking up in a world that kept spinning without you and realizing you were never really part of it." She paused, eyes gleaming, until someone like you decides to care. 2 months later, Eleanor Whitmore walked, without assistance, onto a small stage at St. Grace Hospital. Reporters, staff, patients, and donors all gathered, curious. She cleared her throat, her voice still fragile but fierce. "I came here as a ghost," she began, "but I am leaving with a soul." Then she stunned the world. A $50 million donation to St. Grace Hospital. Another $20 million to create the Reyes Foundation, a scholarship for medical students committed to compassionate care. Free clinics were announced. A program for patients without family, pairing them with medical advocates. All in the name of a young doctor who chose to operate on a woman the world had already given up on. Nathan sat back, stunned trying not to cry. His mother clutched his hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. After the ceremony, Eleanor found him under a sycamore tree in the courtyard, the one place he went to think. "I hope you don't mind," she said, sitting beside him. "I figured if I'm going to live again, I should do something that matters." Nathan smiled, the kind that aches behind the eyes. "I didn't save you for money." "I know," she said. "That's why it matters." From that day forward, their lives remained intertwined, not out of obligation, but from a deep, soul-etched bond. She would become a mentor, a fierce advocate, and a kind of family he never expected. And he, her second chance at redemption. Years later, when Nathan would take the helm as chief of surgery and the Reyes Foundation expanded to every major city in the country, the story would be told again and again, not just in newspapers or at galas, but in hushed whispers in hospital corridors, in classrooms, in the hearts of those who believe that kindness, real, unglamorous, inconvenient kindness, can wake the world from its slumber. Because sometimes the most miraculous awakenings don't happen in the body. They happen in the heart. And all it takes is one person willing to care when no one else will.